outside of the Capitol. Bibi Netanyahu is in town, and the protesters are not having it. They burned effigies of his face and body. They pulled fire alarms in his hotel. They dumped maggots in his hotel. They protested loudly on the street outside the hotel. And yeah, I mean, it was just sheer and utter chaos. In addition to that, we're also going to respond to Joe Biden's address that he gave yesterday. It was brutal. He stumbled and fumbled through it. You could see the reflection of his teleprompter in the window behind him, and it was set to probably the largest possible setting in terms of font size. He still could barely read. Easy. Yeah, you were in a Cancer Moon Star. He's stumbling and fumbling. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to react to this this debate on Piers Morgan. So let me just switch my sound settings real quick. Okay, let's see.
Harris, you're voting for the...
You guys can hear that. Cool. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're going to do. So this debate is, it has CJ Pearson and Chris Mowry in it. So we're going to react to the pair of them duking it out. Let's see. So we'll start it like right here when we do something. Oh, of course, we get another freaking ad. Okay. All right, so let's just dive right into this stuff here. So protesters outside the Watergate Hotel, third straight night, making sure Netanyahu doesn't get a wink of sleep, this person says. This is what these people are doing. See, they're calling him Satan. Absurd, absurd, absurd. Let's see, what do we got next here? So, they gathered behind police barricades. Again, here's some more footage of just what they're doing outside the hotel that Netanyahu is sleeping in. Let's see. Set up barricades. Nuts. Now, this is interesting. So, there was a flag. What they were doing yesterday was pulling the flags off of the Capitol and burning them. So you see this guy right here burn a flag, and they're saying he's Jewish for sure. He confirmed Jewish. They're saying this guy's confirmed Jewish because he has a big nose. So that's their grand conspiracy, is that the Mossad infiltrated the protests at the Capitol. They picked the guy with the biggest nose physically possible. They sent him in. He burned the flag to make all the protesters look bad. As he does it, they cheer him on, but he's a Mossad agent. The people there don't support that, even though they're cheering him on. He was clearly sent there by the Mossad. The evidence is that he has a big fat nose and he must be a Jew. That's their evidence. For real. I'm not kidding. I've seen this 100 times. They circled his shirt here. They circled the logo on his shirt. So this is a BC Racing shirt. They make like suspensions for cars. That was their big conspiracy. They circled this logo here. It said that's the Mossad logo. He's a redneck, clearly. Like, he's very clearly a redneck. He's wearing a BC Racing shirt with these kind of sunglasses. You're telling me this guy doesn't live in somewhere where there's a lot of farms? It's a BC Racing. That's not the Mossad logo. I hate to break it to you. He's not a Mossad agent just because he has a big nose. Stop being anti-Semitic. But I'll tell you who was there. People who literally support Hamas. So this is a Hamas flag, obviously a Hamas headband here. What's interesting is this is not even the right style of keffiyeh. Red keffiyehs are made in Jordan. White ones are made in Palestinian territories. So wrong color there, but that is a clear Hamas symbolism there. You see, she's got the watermelon. She's got two freaking Palestinian flag buttons. She's got a button here. Can't tell what it is. Another button over here. Like, this is just the most ridiculous LARPing bullshit I've ever seen in my whole entire life. I can't believe it. And Wokeness said, guess which one's on the FBI's radar? It's these. Like, this woman or this person who's actually LARPing as a terrorist. So here's again American flag being torn down and burned. This guy jumped in and saved the flag as it burned. And they chased him. They chased that guy down. They're yelling, "Get him." They're yelling, "Get him." All this guy did was see an American flag burning, jumped in and saved it. Get him, get the white man. Get him, get the white man. That's what they're yelling. They're all yelling, "Get him."
You got a piece of it. Try to take the American flag that was burning.
That's crazy. So this guy tried to save the American flag. He tried to grab the American flag that the protesters were burning. He snatches it, runs away. They chase him down, take it back from him, and then scream, "Get him, get the white man." You don't think we have a problem in this country? Back in my day, they called that an insurrection. Like, look at that. They're defacing the monuments at the Capitol. They're literally pulling American flags off of flagpoles. They are spray painting Hamas triangles all over monuments at the Capitol. They're burning those American flags that they pull off of the Capitol. They've infiltrated the building and fought with police. They fought with police all day yesterday outside the Capitol. And you're telling me that's not an insurrection? Like what? Oh, look, he's spray painting Hamas. He's so yeah, okay. So this guy straight up spray paints Hamas on the side of a memorial or monument at the Capitol. And they all cheer him on and shout, "Long live the resistance." These people support Hamas. Here's a photo, again, of somebody wearing a Hamas headband and flag. Let's see. Right here. Are you seriously trying to tell me that these people do not support Hamas? This was at the United States Capitol yesterday. Disgusting. Despicable. This one's really interesting, too.
Are now being vandalized. Well, monuments are now being vandalized. This is getting kind of dangerous.
Stop being a little bitch.
So I'm going to get out of here.
You're being a little bitch. You know that, right?
I mean, vandalizing monuments aren't
People
cool,
aren't
man.
vandalizing monuments. People aren't vandalizing monuments. Human lives are being spent. People are being murdered. But no one is out here harming anyone by expressing that they are upset. And you're a pussy for thinking so.
They just chased a guy down in the last clip for trying to preserve the American flag.
Remember the First Amendment, you little shit.
Defacing monuments is not the First Amendment. It's against the law. Your protected free speech does not include destroying public property. I hate to break it to you. You can't just go spray paint and smash up anything you want because the First Amendment exists. It protects your speech and expression. It does not protect you from violating the law.
Yeah, you can't.
They did this too. This is and you know what's interesting too is like a lot of people say, well, these protests outside the Capitol while Netanyahu's here, they're not an insurrection. You know, during the insurrection on the Capitol on January 6th, conservatives broke into the Capitol. They fought with the police. They hung an effigy of Mike Pence. Blah blah blah. Here's an effigy of Benjamin Netanyahu burning outside the Capitol, not being hung, not a display, burning, literally on fire. They broke into the Capitol the other day. They sat down. They fought with police. They fought with police outside the Capitol yesterday, all day. How are you going to tell me that one is an insurrection and the other is not an insurrection? They destroyed public property for 24 hours. They're still going today. And you're telling me it's not an insurrection? Okay. All right. Chat, I can't see you. By the way, yo, what's up, Victor? I can't see chat for some reason. I can see it in my stream window, but I can't see it on my actual thing for some reason. I don't know why. Whatever. Yeah, I can see it, here. Directions. I can see it here, but I can't see it wherever else. Yeah, so that happened. Then we got this. Rashida Tlaib decided that she was going to put up a war criminal sign while Netanyahu was giving his speech yesterday in Congress. And what I find super, super disgusting about this is there was a freed hostage in the audience near Rashida Tlaib as she sat there and wore a keffiyeh and held up a sign that said war criminal, and the other side of it says guilty of genocide. This woman, this former hostage, Noah Argamani, was held in Hamas custody for 250 days, I think it was. And I heard a lot of people also say Noah Argamani came back in very good condition. She was very clean. She was all intact and in one piece, blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't matter how clean you come back after being a hostage for over 250 days. It doesn't matter how clean you come back or how well they treated you. Okay, that doesn't mean you weren't tortured. Being a hostage against your will, at the mercy of a foreign invader, is torture, regardless of how you dice it. No matter how well they treat you. If they give you steaming hot meals 3 times a day, it doesn't matter. It is still torture. You are being held against your will. And in many of these cases, the hostages were held against their will just after watching their entire families get murdered. So, incredibly disrespectful and disgusting. Elon Musk was invited to, or as a guest of Netanyahu during his speech. So, she is labeling herself a war criminal. Yeah, it kind of seems that way, doesn't it? Somebody, my social team fixed it. This looks much better, obviously. Yeah. Somebody else in the comments fixed it. So, yeah. And this goes along with so I told you guys earlier that shut up kid. What? Come in Discord, bro. If you're on Twitch, the link should be below. Stream. If you're not in Twitch, if you're on Twitter, I tweeted out the Discord link yesterday. So if anybody wants to retrieve that for our friend Varese here, that would be great. Let's get Varese in here. You can have a discussion with me. Just join General VC. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be sitting here waiting. Come have a conversation with me. So this goes along with the flag burning, right? So this is an example of what they did was, okay, so they were burning flags all day, but in this instance, they lowered the American flag, burned it before it hit the ground, and then raised a Palestinian flag over the Capitol. Like, are you kidding me? And then this happened. So Republican members of Congress went outside at night after the protesters cleared, and they raised new American flags.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same flagpole probably. Let's see. Looks like it. Looks like the same flagpole. So, and look, you can see there's another flagpole over here with the Palestinian flag on it. So, absolutely disgusting. All right, let's get into Joe Biden's address. So, this was his big address. I could have swore it was supposed to be a press conference, but I guess it wasn't.
My fellow Americans.
I know whatever name is. Yeah. Yo, so Varese, are you gonna be coming, or you gonna come have a discussion with me? Anyone's welcome. Can you guys hear me or see me? It says my stream is disconnected. Oh, that was 8 hours ago. Okay, never mind.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute.
I'm speaking for 9. Check this out, guys. Hold up. Let me just raise this up real quick. Oops, I'm gonna have to do it. Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna do it this way. Okay, I want you to look just below Joe Biden's ear as I expand this. Like, I want you to look just below his ear because you can literally see the teleprompter in the reflection.
Desk in the Oval Office.
Do you see it?
In this sacred space,
Do you see that reflection right
surrounded
there?
by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham
Watch
Lincoln.
this. Wait, hold up real quick. I'll show you like a close up on the look. You can see the big letters. He's got it set to like the biggest letters and he still can't read. You'll see.
Presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union, it's not about me, it's about you, your families.
Clearly not, because you earned 87% of the vote in the primary, over 16 million votes, and you were coerced to drop out by your party, who doesn't care about democracy. So clearly not.
Your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that, and I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy?
Don't all presidents use teleprompters? Yeah, sure. I mean, all presidents probably do use teleprompters. I use teleprompter. There's a teleprompter over my camera right now. But I don't struggle to read my teleprompter and slur and stumble through my words. Okay, Joe Biden's like, he's got it set to the biggest setting possible. Cancer Moonstar. What does that say? Pause. It's less about him needing a teleprompter and more about him being unable to read it. Now we're getting it out.
Circle, you let me circle it. I can find anything if I circle it, so let me circle it.
In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as friends, as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people.
And also, if this is not a teleprompter and this is a pre-written speech, it is a terrible pre-written speech. I would like.
If you would like to meet at this office, I promise to always level with you, to tell you the truth. The truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president,
We need to speed this
my
puppy
leadership
up.
in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
Like, I just wish they could have hit it better, because it's just all I can see. Like, I can't take my eyes off the teleprompter moving in the back.
Best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families,
Bullshit.
grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights.
You know what I have to say to that, actually? I have something to say to that.
Come on, folks.
That's what I have to say.
From the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat. And I'll keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer.
Cancer moonshot? What the hell is a cancer moonshot?
Know it because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. Come on, folks. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration.
Yeah, we're gonna continue trading basketball players for the Merchant of Death.
On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Come down here in the basement. And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
We came together as Americans.
From now on, I'll be giving my commentary in Joe Biden sound bites.
We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure.
Chocolate chip.
Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest
Yeah, right.
it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years.
What? No, we didn't, because your federal government is still shoveling dollars into their pockets. The only reason Big Pharma is powerful is because the United States federal government props them up. There's no competitors. We put up tons of red tape, deregulation that Trump was trying to put through would help this issue. We put up tons of red tape that prevent new competitors from entering the market, and thus the big pharmaceutical companies that receive millions and billions of dollars from the federal government every single year, first of all, don't have anyone to compete with, so they don't have to lower their prices because the federal government doesn't allow competitors. And second of all, raises their prices willy-nilly because, I mean, they're already receiving millions of dollars from the federal government. They might as well make more money. You know what I mean?
The cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors.
Okay.
More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed
You're going to do that all in 3 months?
helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever.
Yeah, most significant climate law ever. That was a fucking lie, okay? You passed the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act, which, by the way, the Congressional Budget Office and Penn Wharton both projected would do absolutely nothing to reduce inflation, and if anything, would slightly increase inflation, okay? It was a climate change bill disguised as an inflation reductory bill, okay? You spent $1 trillion on climate change proposals that we don't even necessarily know what they're going to do. That is, by the way, more money than we spent on the or just about the same amount of money that we spent on the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War expenditure, adjusted for today's dollars, was $1 trillion. $1 trillion. That's how much Joe Biden spent on climate change proposals in a bill that he claimed was going to reduce inflation, which the Congressional Budget Office and Penn Wharton project will either do nothing to increase inflation or decrease inflation, or will actually increase inflation.
In the history of the world, the first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are low.
He's just lying. He's just lying. There's been over 10 million people that have crossed the border since this guy's entered office. More people than ever in U.S. history. Unprecedented numbers.
Today,
when Trump left office, we had the lowest amount of illegals entering the border that we had ever had. And now we have the most under Joe Biden.
And when the previous administration left office, I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my...
Yeah, exactly. That's a problem. Like, nobody is giving you, at least nobody rational is giving you props for that. That's not a good thing. You said, I'm going to pick a black lady, and then you picked a black lady. Congratulations. You could have left your options open, and you could have very well found a black lady, a black woman that was very qualified, and put her on the Supreme Court. But instead, just like you did with Kamala Harris, you said, before you knew who you were going to appoint, I'm going to put a black lady on the Supreme Court. You said before you picked Kamala Harris as your VP, I'm going to pick a black lady to be my VP. You didn't know who you were going to pick. You said that months before you picked Kamala Harris. That is DEI. You are putting people that are not necessarily as qualified as they could be in positions of power just because of their identity. You're letting their identity give them an edge in being appointed to powerful positions. Why don't you take somebody's merit into account more than the color of their skin or what they have between their legs? Doesn't that make a lot more sense? Crazy novel idea, by the way. Appointing people based on their merit, their skills, and their qualifications, not based on what they look like. Crazy idea.
My commitment to have an administration that looks like America.
You're screaming to one person. I have 371 people watching on Twitter, so no, I'm not screaming to one person. I don't know where you're watching. It doesn't show me, but...
President for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Oh, you know the thing.
All created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either.
We haven't fully lived up to it.
And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice.
Hey, Amuse, what's up, man?
No.
How's it going?
I'd like to thank our great Vice President, Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country.
You know what? I actually want to dive into something with you guys real quick. Here, let's just go to my Twitter real fast. I want to show you guys a video. Wait, why is it? Oh my god. Crap. Alright. Let's go here real quick. I posted this video today. I want to show you guys. So there's been a lot of like rumors going around that Kamala Harris had only ever sentenced 45 black people during her time as Attorney General of California. So I'm not sure where you got that. I found somebody who said this, and I responded to them. So I'm not sure where you got that number, because according to data from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, at least 44,172 black individuals were newly admitted to California state prisons under Kamala Harris's reign as Attorney General from 2011 to 2017. Percentage-wise, that breaks down to 23.6% of all new incarcerees being black, despite the fact that black people only make up 5% of California's population. In addition, her office sentenced to prison 83,370 Hispanics, which made up 44.5% of all new admissions to prison. Now, I don't believe in systemic racism, but anyone who does, you progressives, with this at front of mind. So, what I want to make clear here is everyone, seemingly on the left, is claiming that Kamala Harris only ever, during her time as Attorney General of California, sentenced 45 black people to prison. In reality, there are 3 additional zeros in the end of that number. Okay? She sentenced over 44,000 black people to prison during her tenure as Attorney General in California. Now, I don't believe in systemic racism. I also don't believe that Kamala Harris is racist and was intentionally sentencing black people to prison time because they're black. Okay? I don't believe that. But if you do, if you're one of these people who believe that disproportionality equals discrimination, that just because a certain group is disproportionately sentenced to prison time, there must be some kind of discrimination present, you should probably be careful about who you're about to vote for, because Kamala Harris sentenced black people at a rate of over 30%, while their population representation was only 5%. Okay? Now, what I would normally argue against this is, again, just because a group is disproportionately sentenced to prison doesn't mean that there's discrimination present. Men, for example, are sentenced to prison, 90% of the prison population are men. That doesn't mean that the system is discriminating against men just because 90% of the prison population are men. If that was the case, if disparity did equal discrimination, then men would be the most discriminated against group in the entire United States by miles, but it's obviously not the case. Hey, you're one of the more reasonable people on YouTube. Don't know why it's so hard to find, but good work. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I think we're pretty much done with this Joe Biden address. So I did want to talk about this, though.
When people hear...
So Jackson Hinkle and Eddie Liger Smith just started the American Communist Party, and they are just touting it everywhere. So this person is apparently a member of the American Communist Party, and she has some things to say, and we're going to respond to those things.
When people hear the word communism, they often think of poverty, scarcity, and struggle. But what if I told you that communism is actually about prosperity and success?
Oh, really? Communism is when prosperity and success. So here I have something for you guys. This is the Human Development Index. So basically what this does is it's an index that is created by the UN, and it indexes countries and ranks them based on their human development. So things like education, how well people are eating, how clean things are. So here we have at the top capitalist countries. We have Switzerland, Iceland, Denmark, Germany, Singapore, which is the most capitalist country in the entire world, the Netherlands, Finland, the United Kingdom, the UAE, South Korea, the United States, Israel, Slovenia, etc., etc. Okay, you have capitalist countries on top, of course, because capitalism is amazing and fantastic for human development. But let's just, let's just Control F here real quick. Vietnam. Oh, sorry, did I spell it wrong? Vietnam. There it is, right there. 107. Whoops, what'd I do? It is ranked 107, Vietnam. China, how about China? Look at the formerly communist or, currently run by communist countries. 75, China, currently run by the Chinese Communist Party. Obviously, Vietnam is a communist country. Let's see, what's another formerly communist country? Ukraine. Ukraine in the build. 100. Oh, look at that. Let's see, Russia. Let's go to Russia. Oh, are you there, Russia? 56. 56. What's another formerly communist country? I got one. Cuba. 85. 85 in the Human Development Index. What's another one? Come on. What's another formerly communist country that is probably doing absolutely terribly in terms of human development? And notice that not a single one of those countries, not a single formerly communist country, is up here on top. Why? Well, because communism is terrible for human development, and it has long-term lasting effects on the quality of life that people have in countries that are formerly communist. That's what studies show. And clearly the Human Development Index reflects that. So, yeah. Communism is when success and prosperity.
Communism, at its core, envisions a society where
Keyword envisions.
resources are shared equitably, and everyone has access to the necessities of life. It's a
Bare minimums, I think
world
she
where
means.
technological advancements benefit all, not just the privileged.
Which has never been the case, by the way, in communist countries. Like Russia, for example, was buying tractors from the United States because they couldn't afford to make them themselves.
Few. In a
Yeah, sure, Romania. Let's see where Romania is at on the Human Development Index. Whoops, I accidentally... Damn it, I lost the Piers Morgan thing. Romania, 53. Yeah, so...
communist society, the economy is driven by the needs and contributions of the people. Everyone works together for the common good, creating
Right.
an environment where innovation and productivity flourish.
Right.
Imagine a world where no one goes hungry, where healthcare and education are
Are way shittier than they are everywhere else in the world, remember,
universal,
guys.
and where communities thrive in harmony with nature.
Drive themselves directly into the ground.
This is the true vision of communism.
The vision, keyword vision. All right, let's fire up this Piers Morgan debate. All right, so we're gonna start it.
With HoneyBook, you can make sure your marketing business
I gotta
is
be
as
YouTube Pro
polished
again.
and professional as you really are. Here's how. I'm Millie, a content creator coach and business owner. If I had to start my business from zero,
She did look the part. I mean, she's very
All right, we're just gonna start it from here. Well, sure, we'll start it from here.
Bill O'Reilly about all this. But first, a debate. I'm joined by the host of the Habituation Room, Francesca Fiorentini, the former Republican congressman and presidential candidate Joe Walsh, the co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson, and the host of part of the Problem podcast, Dave Smith, and Chris Mowry from Chris and Harry Unplugged. Now, Ben, I know you've got to leave fairly soon, so I want to start with you. Is it in the Republican interests that Joe Biden lingers around like a bad old smell for as long as possible?
Yeah, careful what you wish for. I think there's two parts to this. Look, I would love to see Joe Biden be okay, and I mean that from a health perspective, the fact he's been hiding, that we haven't seen him. I'm glad that apparently he's doing better, and he's going to address the nation tomorrow night. At the same time, if he's clearly incapacitated, you need someone to actually be the acting president of the United States of America, not a de facto president, which is what Kamala is right now. Look, there's a yin and yang here. If you see Kamala as president, does it help her campaign? Maybe. But if she's the Kamala Harris that we've learned to know, I think it could also just be a disaster for a presidential campaign. It's truly a coin flip at this point. So, yeah, be careful what you wish for in one aspect of this. But at the same time, it's like, all right, let's see what Harris looks like. I don't believe it's a great product. I don't believe she's going to be a great president if she's filling in. I think she's a disaster when you see her on stage. And I think she's unlikable. And the Democrats decided that in the last presidential primary they had with her. They didn't like her. They didn't vote for it. They didn't support her. They didn't give her money. This is a coronation now. So let's see Kamala Harris. I think she's running the country right now. So let's let her have the job.
Okay, I mean, Francesca, I watched Kamala Harris's first big speech yesterday, the one where Biden called in, and the contrast between the two of them couldn't be more glaring. I mean, Biden just sounded like a very old man doddering his way through a sort of call to wish everybody well. She did look the part. I mean, she's very telegenic. She's obviously intelligent. She was...
Here, let's skip to the part where CJ gets on here. That's where it seems to get more interesting.
Chris Murray from the Chris and Harry Unplugged, and I'll come to CJ Pearson as well. But Dave Smith, you've been sitting next to me here, even though we're looking down barrels of different cameras. You wanted to get in there. You were aghast about something. I'm not quite sure what it was.
Well, look, okay, there's just a couple things here. First of all, I do understand why people object to the use of the term coup. However, for Joe to say, well, this was just Joe Biden made a decision, like, that's pretty misleading also. The truth is that Joe Biden did make his decision. His decision was to stay in the race. He made this very, very clear. Up to Sunday morning, on the Sunday morning news shows, campaign surrogates were going out saying he's staying in the race. It's Biden versus Trump. Now, it's not exactly that he made a decision. Big donors and political operatives and the corporate press all turned their back on him and said, we are going to force your hand. And essentially, he was forced out. On top of that, look, I'm not claiming to know anything that we don't know. It is incredibly bizarre that the President of the United States of America, a few weeks out from the convention, decided to pull out of the race and did not address the nation. Now, you can say he had COVID. I don't care. He's the sitting President of the United States. For it to come out on personal, stationary, and then in a tweet, he endorses Kamala Harris, and now we're being told we're going to hear from him tomorrow night. That is just incredibly bizarre, and it is understandable why people speculate about what was really going on behind the scenes. The truth is that none of us really know what type of internal pressure was put on Joe Biden, what type of threats were made. So the fact that people would speculate about that, I think, is totally reasonable. On the other point, the idea that...
Saeed, join my Discord, man. I'll link it below. What are you watching on, Saeed? I'll link you the Discord. Join the Discord. Have a discussion with me. Let's go. You have low testosterone. Okay. All right. Well, if you have such high testosterone, then I'm sure you won't be afraid of a conversation with me. So join Discord.
Republicans are would never question Donald Trump. He's their God emperor. They would never think about another nominee. The problem with this this narrative from the left is that it just reality flies in the face of it. Look, there was a National Review entire issue dedicated to never Trump in 2016. Mitt Romney, the previous nominee, came out and gave a speech. Anyone but Donald Trump. This year, all of the big donor money was going to DeSantis and Nikki Haley. All of the powerful forces within the...
I don't debate genocidal apologists. Is it because your brain doesn't work? Is it because you have low testosterone? What's the reason there? I don't know. If I'm wrong, and there is a genocide happening, it should be pretty easy to disprove that, right? It should be pretty easy to disprove me. You should be able to dunk on me pretty easily. If I'm so stupid, I have low testosterone, I'm an idiot, I don't believe that there's a genocide happening, I'm a genocide apologist, it should be pretty easy to dunk on me. So why don't you just, I don't know, join the chat. Prove how manly you are. You're talking about testosterone.
Republican establishment have been trying to get anybody else except Donald Trump. The difference between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is that Donald Trump, however you feel about him, has tens of millions of Americans who love him and want him to be the nominee. And there's no Democrat who has anything like that.
I agree. CJ, been bringing CJ, who's been waiting patiently. Hang on, Francesco, I'll come to you in a moment. CJ Pearson, can you tell me what brat means, given it's the word that's all over the news, and you're probably the only one young enough on the panel to know what it means? Apart from Francesco.
As the resident Gen Zer here, it seems as if Kamala Harris is having a brat.
Saeed, what are you watching on, bro? What are you watching on? Are you watching on Twitter?
Girl summer, which actually means that she actually doesn't know what's going on. It's a state of deliriousness. It's a state of delusion. It's like you're just going along to get along, but that's kind of how Kamala Harris has led her entire political career. She's just been a coconut falling from a coconut tree. She just lands in a place and hopes that the American people will go along with it as this coordination has taken place. Dave absolutely hit all the right points. Donald Trump went through a spirited Republican primary process where he knocked every single one of them out one by one. What's happening right now, which is so ironic.
You're from Israel. Nothing you say is valid. I'm not from Israel. All right, Said. Cool. You're watching on Twitter. I'm going to drop the Discord link below the tweet. I'm going to drop the Discord link below the tweet, and you can come join and have a discussion with me. Unless you're just too stupid to talk. I don't know. I mean, why else wouldn't you have a discussion? Clearly you have time on your hands. You're sitting here in my chat. So let's see. Cool. Just dropped it below the tweet side.
And so hypocritical.
Hey, Toby. Thanks, man.
Is that the party that is supposedly so against voter suppression is now disenfranchising millions of Democrat voters who voted for Joe Biden to be their nominee.
87% of the Democrat primary vote, by the way, 16 million votes voted for Joe Biden in the Democrat primaries.
Bullied a senile old man out of office just so that they could have a chance at winning in November.
I'm at work busy being productive to society. Dog, you're in my chat. Like, I'm being productive at work. I'm just spamming your Twitter live stream chat. Yeah, man. Sounds real productive to society.
It's disgusting, it's wrong, it's anti-democratic, and dare I say it's a threat to democracy.
Yo, you should vote Joe Biden. Vote Joe. You should bring him back into the race.
Hang on.
Defend him.
Hang on, let me go to Chris. From Chris and Harry Unplugged, who's also been waiting a long time to get in here. Probably even younger, so knows even more what brat means. Kamala Harris, I mean, what do you make of the new threat to Donald Trump? He's got to tear up his entire playbook, which was to be an old guy, to now go after a much younger black.
Cam, please address my comment on Kamala. I'm genuinely curious. What comment?
Woman. It's a completely different proposition for Trump. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Republicans and Trump are panicking, and I think you've seen it in the last 10 or 20 minutes. If they want
Republicans are panicking. Republicans are panicking. The entire establishment turned against your guy and then pressured him to drop out. He dropped out 3 months before an election. We're panicking? Really? Okay.
Run, if the PR play for Republicans wants to be that Democrats are a threat to democracy, that Democrats are doing something undemocratic, Donald Trump and Republicans like C.J. Pearson want to run on that, I think Democrats are in a great position in November. They have nothing. And to the last point about, everybody in this party has to bend the knee to Donald Trump. CJ Pearson would not be sitting where he is if he didn't go and praise Donald Trump and have a Trump banner in his header. I mean, CJ's somebody who in his primary election that he lost, he called voter fraud against his Republican counterpart. And so, in the Democrat world, we've had fierce debates about our candidate, and it's been hard, but we have values and morals that actually matter over just bowing the knee to one man. And so I think Democrats are in a great position, and she's clearly popular because she's fundraised more money than anyone in political history.
I wouldn't expect to hear anything less from a Democrat, from a DNC paid show like Chris Mowry. But what I'll say to this is that Kamala Harris is nothing more than a pandering shadow. And she is in the same situation that Joe Biden is in. She is not running the show whatsoever. And what she'll realize is that Black Girl Summer will not be enough to change the hearts and minds of America's young people, because under Kamala Harris, what you won't have is a Black Girl Summer. What you will have is a Broke Girl Summer as a result of the runaway inflation that we're experiencing under the Biden-Harris administration, as a result of the record high gas prices we've seen under their administration. Their leadership is absent of any leadership.
Then you got nothing to worry about, CJ. Now, then, CJ, if you're right, if Kamala Harris is nothing, you should be smiling. You should be celebrating right now. You got nothing to worry about. Hosanna.
I am celebrating. I am smiling.
Good.
I mean, yeah, that's what I think is sort of just incredible about just two things I'll push back on.
Previous comment, don't Republicans love that there were thousands sent to prison under Kamala? Why do conservatives hate that? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that.
The idea that it's a coronation, once again, in 2020, panel, how many primary challengers did incumbent President Donald Trump have?
This isn't about whether or not Trump had challengers, because the people who guard the parties and the electoral process can't force people to run for president against an incumbent, right? You can't force people into the race. But what you can do is not force people out of the race, especially when they've already won the primary with over 80% of the vote, 16 million votes total. You can't coerce that person to drop out of the race after people have already voted for that person. They've already secured the nomination, and then install somebody new into the nomination. Just install a new candidate as the front runner for the Democrat Party after the primaries are over. Okay? That is ridiculous. Joe Biden said vehemently, multiple times, that he was in this race and that the only thing that would stop him from running for president is if he got hit by a train. A week later, he dropped out after winning 80% of the Democrat primary vote. It's not the same thing. Just because Trump didn't have any challengers doesn't mean that the Republicans were being corrupt. It just means nobody's running against him.
None.
And 2 other
Why? Because he was the incumbent president. This is an incumbency, right? And so the idea that this is like, how dare they, it's not democratic. No, Harris is the effing vice president, been on the ticket since Joe Biden was elected back in 2020. Obviously, people thought he was going to be the incumbent and run again. Then his brain did a coup on his body and himself and his whole campaign. And here we are where we are. The other thing about the...
And do you know how many people voted for Kamala Harris in the primary? You can say she was the VP, but do you know how many people voted for her in the primary? 0. None. Absolutely nobody.
Owners. I think it's very funny because the reason that Donald Trump on the other side picked your boy J.D. Vance, even though he hates facial hair, is because J.D. Vance came along with a bunch of
everything. Pretty much everyone's saying on the panel, with the exception of this guy in the middle right here, just such cheap stuff. Like, it's just all cheap.
Capitalists, guys like Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, David Horowitz, to absolutely help this campaign out with all of their AI-funded tech crypto billionaire money that wants to put us all out of a job. In 3 years, this will just be a panel of AI experts.
Like what kind of commentary is that? This will be a panel of AI. Okay. No, it won't. Like, what are you saying? Say something useful, please.
And honestly, God bless them.
Well, we have Chris Barry on the panel.
I don't think there's any robot in the world that could mirror what you're like, Francesca, I have to say. I think your position is safe.
True Brad.
It has to be a very
over
sophisticated
here.
AI. CJ, let me just ask CJ, and I'll come to Dave to also join in on this. When you look at Kamala Harris, like I said, if Trump goes ad hominem, which is his normal preferred method of attack on any opponent, I think it could backfire. However, there is lots of stuff on Kamala's record which I think he can really pick her off about. Most notably, the fact that she's been the immigration czar for the United States of America for the last 2 years, when immigration has been running completely out of control. And if I was Trump, I'd just keep asking her, didn't you just have one job? Wasn't that the job you had to do? And even when she was asked, have you been to the border, she came out with this extraordinary response, well, I haven't been to Europe either, as if that was anything relevant to the discussion.
Her job isn't based in Europe.
So I think the way she's handled the one thing she was given special responsibility for, if I'm the Republicans, I'm going after that morning, noon, and night.
Let's fast forward.
No, Piers, I think you're absolutely right. I think we do, find ourselves, in a hole when we continue to talk things about, her sexual history and all those things. I think there's no need to discuss those things. I think there are a lot of other things that are disqualifying about Kamala Harris, including her blatant hypocrisy. She locked up countless of nonviolent young black men for smoking weed, only to go on the Breakfast Club and brag about how much weed she smoked.
She sentenced over 40,000 black men to prison during her tenure as Attorney General in California, by the way. Over 40,000 black men and over 80,000 Hispanic men, or Hispanic people in general, to prison during her tenure as Attorney General. Okay, that is a share of 35-ish% of all convictions being black men, despite them making up 5% of California's population.
This is also someone, as you said, who was in control of our national security as it relates to the border and absolutely dropped the ball there time and again. She has shown that she is not deserving of promotion. The only reason that we are even having this conversation on her as a nominee of the Democrat Party, aside from coordination, is because she's a DEI hire. She was a DEI hire when she became vice president because he had to get black.
Joe Biden announced months before he chose Kamala Harris that he'd be picking a black woman.
Black women on board this campaign. They couldn't skip over Kamala Harris because they were afraid of upsetting black women if they did so. That is exactly why she bided her time. She covered up the fact that Joe Biden was mentally unfit and mentally unwell and mentally incapable of carrying on the banner of the Democrat Party, because she knew that she could not win an open Democratic primary herself. She knew that she did not have the fortitude to do so, and we saw that. It was demonstrable in 2020. She didn't win a single primary state. She didn't even make it to Iowa, Piers. And if you think that if she can't beat Pete Buttigieg and all of those folks, Tulsi Gabbard, you think that she can beat Donald J. Trump after what he has endured, after the feckless prosecutions, after the attempted assassination, then I've got some great real estate in Alaska to tell you. It's insane.
Okay, I want to bring in Dave Smith about one particular point. I saw one of the polls today, which was matching up Kamala Harris against Trump. Significantly amongst young people, a big gap between them. And a lot of that people are putting down to the fact that young people actually did feel that what Trump did when he was shot was a remarkably ballsy thing. And it became a really big social media sort of emblem of defiance and strength and courage and all these things, which were things that maybe young people hadn't associated with Trump. But suddenly they saw this image of him punching the air, blood all over his face, surviving surviving an assassination attempt, and they thought, you know what, that's, as Mark Zuckerberg said, probably the first time in his life, that was badass by Trump. How significant do you think the failed assassination attempt is going to be, particularly young people?
Well, I think, look, I think that it helps Donald Trump tremendously. I think it's one of those things where it's like I remember going to the opera with my wife, and I've never been to the opera before. But when you hear like an unbelievably talented singer at the opera, you're just like, whoa, that's incredible. It's almost an involuntary reaction. And there is something about seeing someone while there's bullets spraying, they don't even know if they're hit yet, and they're given the fist. But even if you despise Donald Trump, I think most people would admit, yeah, that was a good moment for him. He looked good there. I think to the point that you guys were making before, again, look, I'm a libertarian, and so I already know I'm going to lose. So I kind of have an advantage on some of you guys. Like, I'm not married to either side here, but I think people blind themselves with narratives when they're all in on one camp. And to hear you guys, the Democrats on the panel saying like, oh, the Republicans are in freak out mode or something like that. Guys, you literally just removed your candidate to go with another candidate after years of pretending that the emperor had clothes, while the rest of us were all talking about the guy who was clearly suffering through severe cognitive decline. Finally, you guys had to admit it. You pulled him out there. You're now going with a deeply unpopular vice presidential candidate. Look, good luck, but it's a big uphill battle. The fact is that the spin now is that it was just Joe Biden's age. That was the only issue that he slowed down. The truth is that if you look at every single poll, the two big issues here are the economy and immigration. I'm not a kid. I don't understand any of your black girl summer references. I don't know what brat means, okay? I'm a dad in my 40s. We've lived through, over the last couple of years, the worst price inflation in my life and the worst immigration crisis in my lifetime. This is a major problem. Kamala Harris is married to this administration, and Donald Trump's got a lot of red meat to run against. That's what this election is going to come down to, and it favors Trump.
I agree. Chris, you want to respond to that? Let me get Chris to respond, then I'll come to you, Joe.
Yeah, I just want to say.
So we're just coming up on an hour here, so we're going to get Chris's response, and then we'll probably end out the live, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in.
As a Gen Zer, I just disagree with this. This consistent notion that Kamala Harris is unpopular. Again, yesterday we saw the largest fundraising day in American political history through Act Blue. Grassroots donors, $5, $10, $25. Gen Z is excited for a candidate objectively that's younger, a woman, and somebody who's been like a champion on things like climate and gun reform, etc. And I think that Gen Z specifically, as a generation, me myself, I've never seen America at peace. It's been nothing but chaos since I was born in 2002. And we're looking back now and saying, wow, this is really at a boiling point. And what has caused this? And what's caused this is Trump and the MAGA movement doing nothing but
Chris must have a short memory. He must have forgotten what happened when we withdrew from Afghanistan. Excuse me. He must have missed the massive debacle during the Afghanistan withdrawal, the abandonment of the existing plan that we had to withdraw from Afghanistan. He ignored the fact that we literally withdrew our troops and then realized we left people behind and equipment, and then we had to redeploy more troops than we had there in the first place. They hunkered down at the airport, not in Kabul, which arguably could be the right strategic decision. But the major thing is like pulling out and then pulling back in is the big problem, because we lost a lot of the ground that we had prior, and as soon as we left, the Taliban started seizing territory. So we withdrew before we said we were going to withdraw, without the conditions met that we said needed to be met for us to withdraw, which gave the Taliban green light to seize the entire country. They seized Kabul while we were still in the airport, and then they blew the Kabul airport up with suicide bombers, or ISIS-K did at least, killing 13 U.S. service members and over 70 Afghan civilians, many of them being our allies. We left our biometric databases in Afghanistan, which had iris scans of all the people who worked with us in Afghanistan. The Taliban went door to door, knocking on people's doors and scanning irises, looking for Afghans who assisted the United States government, and then murdering them if their irises matched scans in the biometric database. We left Scan Eagle drones that the Taliban now has access to. We left uniforms. We left equipment. We left rifles. We left Humvees. We left all of our equipment there. We didn't derelict it. We didn't bomb it. We didn't destroy it. We left it there for the Taliban to use. Our enemy. We let our enemy, who was far less advanced than us, that was still using AK-47s and running around without uniforms, we gave them all of our equipment. The most advanced military on the face of this planet, we gave them our equipment.
Pushing division all the time with the lies and the disgusting, hateful rhetoric. And I think that Gen Z is fired up to move on, to get candidates that actually care about us.
I think one of the bigger issues.
Let me ask you this. You talk about hateful rhetoric from the right to the left, and that definitely has been. It's indisputable. But what about the hateful rhetoric from the left to the right? For example, for 8 years, I've heard people on the left, from the top down, refer to Trump as the new Hitler, as Adolf Hitler, as if somehow he's presiding over a Nazi-style regime, which, if you're too young to remember, perhaps, but the Nazis killed 12 million people.
Piers is probably too young to remember, too, to be fair.
Including murdering 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. So it's hard to imagine a more offensive or vile slur or more hateful rhetoric than to compare Donald Trump, who's done none of those things, to Adolf Hitler. So do you accept that people on the left have been just as guilty of hateful rhetoric and contributing to the general toxicity of the debate as people on the right?
Sure, but I do want to point out that, the person who's actually called Donald Trump's America's Hitler is J.D. Vance, his current...
He's not the only person. You frame that as the person who actually did that, not acknowledging that he's one of the people who may have done that. And the entire left has been doing it for 4 years. Actually, for 8 years, more like. For the past 8 years, the left has been calling Trump a fascist. They've been calling him a Hitlerite. They've been calling him Adolf Hitler. He's not Adolf Hitler. He's not a fascist, right? He didn't seize the government or take it over, okay? He was elected to a position with power, of which he used to push his political aims, which is what every president does. He didn't seize the government. He didn't become a dictator.
Running mate. J.D. Vance was someone who is very staunchly never Trump. If you look at elected officials across the board, Democrats have consistently been the ones to calm the tensions. And look, I disagree with...
Yeah, right.
America's Hitler, but...
All they do is stoke the fires.
I call Donald Trump a dictator or a threat to democracy. I think it's almost dishonest to not call him that.
No, it's dishonest to call him a dictator because he wasn't a dictator. He was a president. Not once did Donald Trump seize the government while he was in office. He was a president, not a dictator.
This is somebody who tried to overturn an election he didn't win with evidence that he didn't win.
Which is what every Democrat has done since the year 2000.
And so I don't understand how it's hateful to say that he's a threat to democracy or he's moving us toward authoritarianism. And again, I think that the fact that J.D. Vance is the one who said things like he's America's Hitler goes to the fact that, you have to give up all your morals and all your values and bow to Donald Trump in this party.
It's not sure J.D. Vance admitted that he was mistaken. So I don't know what to tell you, Chris. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to wrap the stream up here. I might go live later again. We don't know. Depends on what develops throughout the day. If some major event happens, I'll probably stream later today. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know in my DMs or wherever what you guys would like to see me react to, what you want to hear me talk about. If you are somebody who disagrees with me, who is watching, I linked the Discord below my tweet, and it's also in my Twitch chat. So please go join my Discord, and you're welcome to come any day at 11 o'clock. We stream every day at 11 o'clock. You are welcome to come here and debate me. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody about most topics. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. I will see you later.